Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Isaac Mack. Welcome to the MCC. Joining me today is Mr. Sam Sitto. Sam is a professional photographer who specializes in weddings and portraits. His experience spans over 10 years and has won multiple international photography awards, which have been published in magazines and also newspapers. Sam was one of the early adapters to the change in the professional photography business, and he's here to tell us about his journey and what's next. Sam, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Isaac. Thanks for hosting me.
Okay, now you're a married man. Been married for, is it 4 years or a bit more?
3 years, actually.
3,
3 years and a half.
Okay, so
yes.
Being a wedding and portrait photographer yourself, what was it like? I'm interested to know this. What was it like to have your own wedding photographed? And did you, before you answer, I want to ask, did you find yourself looking at the wedding photographer thinking, is he doing it right, or why is he in that angle, or oh yes, that's a good one. He'll probably go.
Fair enough.
Find that.
You actually started at a very, very interesting question.
Thank
so
you.
For our wedding, of course, I'm not going to go ahead and shoot my own wedding. That's not going to happen. And everyone else that helps us in our business, everyone else that's either a photographer friend or a photographer colleague, we decided to not ask them to take photos. And the reason why is because those guys were going to be invited.
Right.
Yeah. So we decided to go with one of the world's best wedding photographers, and in that sense, you kind of just relax and just enjoy the day.
Okay.
I actually took my own advice. Every wedding, when we realize that the bride and groom are, worried about the photos, about the timing, about everything, we always remind them it's very, very important to remember wedding day is not for photos. Wedding day is for you to enjoy the day, to make memories, to socialize, to spend time with family and friends. And that's what we try to do. We try to focus on just having fun, socializing, just being in that moment, and just let the photographer do his job. That's it.
Good. And you felt you did that successfully?
To the best that I can. To be completely honest, I don't recall actually, asking the photographer for a particular thing.
Yeah. You did well.
For the morning preparations, you know how usually a photographer goes to the groom and a photographer goes to the bride. For the morning preparation, I actually asked no photographer to come to my house.
Really?
I was at a hotel, and I actually asked for no photography there because. But then again, like I said, there's friends and family, and everybody around me is either a photographer or a videographer.
Yeah.
So I definitely did end up, getting a couple of snaps in the morning.
Good.
Yeah. Look, I'm so sorry to interrupt. My best man was actually one of our lead photographers. So, yeah.
Oh, very good. But look, having said all that, your photos did look amazing. That's what I was saying before.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, they did a good job. Look, so I did some little bit of research, had a look at your social media profile and everything. So I've seen that we have something in common, that, you've traveled around the world with your wife. I've done the same. Some of my best memories are our travels. So I think you've gone to Europe and also South America. Do you have I suppose from a photography point of view, a place that, your favorite place that you were just in awe of, and I think you had to get a photo of it? Area?
So when we went to Switzerland, I was actually in awe of the beauty of that place.
Okay.
I do love urban places. I do love cities. But when we went to Switzerland, I never knew that someone can actually be impressed in the beauty of nature this much.
Yeah.
This is the closest you can get to an imaginary heaven.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember those moments were highlights of the trip.
Awesome. It is spectacular.
Yeah.
I know you photograph photos and portraits, but did you see some monuments when you were overseas that that really captivated you as well?
There are a lot of monuments. When you travel, you come across a lot of monuments that you appreciate the craft of the statue, or whatever the work is, or whatever the art is. Especially if you go to museums, or if you go to archaeological places, it's actually breathtaking.
Yeah.
But from a photography perspective, I'm the kind of photographer who, if there is something that you can find a million photos of it on social media, I usually,
Doesn't interest you as much. Yeah.
doesn't interest me that much.
Yeah.
Or if anything, then I try to show my own vision in it that is not similar to what you see online. Because here's the thing: if you have taken a beautiful photo of the same place and I'm there looking at it, why would I repeat your work if I can just appreciate it? So I can appreciate your work, and if anything, I can shoot it differently. Yes. Repeating those moments, I believe it's not necessary. That's also in our work as wedding photographers. And a lot of times we shoot weddings and we get the bride and groom together, and we're taking a particular photo, and someone is over our shoulder trying to take that same shot.
Yeah.
And then a few hours later, you realize that the photo that's been taken over your shoulder has been already published online. That photo is either too bright, too dark, not in the right moment. And what happens is a lot of people end up using the non-professional image. And then the professional image doesn't really get the attention.
Yes.
And that also applies in travel photography. People see a particular photo online of a particular place, a particular monument, a lake, a mountain, and they love it. And they only want to go there to replicate it.
Yes, true.
The thing about art is you need to express yourself. You don't need to express someone else's vision. And that's a big problem that we're facing now with social media and how things are coming at us so fast. And we don't know how to express ourselves because we've been, exposed to too much. So we only feel like when we want to express something, we're already going towards one of the things that we've been exposed to.
That's already been done.
It's really hard to just bring something from the inside. That's the problem we're facing now with all the social media that's happening. It's beautiful, but it has its downsides.
I can understand what you're saying. So it's almost like people are, for example, Eiffel Tower, monuments that we've seen a million times. People just want to have like tick that box and say, hey, look at me, I'm here.
Yes, 100%.
And miss the, I suppose, the glory of the art and the capturing that moment, which is something that captivated you more than 100%. Just. Is that fair enough?
We went to many places where when we arrived to that particular place, a lot of times really we didn't end up taking photos because fair enough, we've seen millions of photos of this particular place. And if I'm not there in the right moment, in the right light, and I'm not going to make something wow, I just sit there and appreciate the place. I just sit there and appreciate the history. I sit there and appreciate the fact that I was able to actually bring myself to this worldwide famous monument.
Yes.
Right? So that's something we actually focused on. And a lot of times when I grab my camera to take a photo, and my wife knows this as well, every time I grab the camera to take a photo, I was thinking of that as a photo that I would love to print.
Yes.
So it's not just a photo that I would snap and just put away. a photo that I would print. So I would look at the place, and if it's worth printing, snap it.
Yes.
If it's not worth printing,
leave it.
Leave it.
And just enjoy the moment.
Sometimes the less you see, the better it is, right? So when people don't see everything, a lot of times, like you mentioned, the Eiffel Tower or many other places, sometimes people go there and take a photo with the millions and millions of tourists around them, putting their hands up and trying to take the best pose.
Yeah.
It kind of turns you off from that place. You get me?
100%.
So that's basically my take.
I love it, because I think that will impact people in a certain way, because even you see people at concerts these days, and I've seen photos where you see people today at a concert, this is pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID, and everyone's there with their phones. And then you see it 20 years ago and people are actually just there enjoying the music. It's yes. such a different world. I hope your comments help people to just detract from taking photos and just enjoying the moments more.
So I'm not really big on social media, right? My personal accounts are not really that busy. I don't post much.
Yeah.
But usually, of course, I don't always go on, rant and all that. Yeah. But usually at a wedding, I kind of, started establishing this habit. So on a wedding, when the bride and groom are walking in, I think the grand entry of the bride and groom to the reception, as photographers, we position ourselves in a particular spot where we can get the best view.
Yes.
So we're kind of at the back. It's very heartbreaking to see everybody standing up, holding their phones. Some people hold 2 phones.
Oh, geez.
Some people hold an iPad. And all they do as the bride and groom walk in is just stare at their phones.
Yeah.
And yeah, fair enough. I know you want to show the world, but I'll tell you something. The bride and groom did not invite you to hold your phone. They invited you so you can show them your love and be happy for them. The bride and groom invited you because they love you. They want to celebrate with you. If you're on your phone, by all means, a lot of times these weddings are live online. So you get me? That's actually a very, very heartbreaking moment when we see all those people really paying more attention to their social media accounts than actually enjoying that particular moment. Because what you're going to remember from that person's wedding, you're just going to remember you being on your phone.
Yeah.
And it was only a few days ago when we were shooting a wedding and the groom was walking out of his house and his dad was missing. And we just wanted the dad to be with the groom and his mom and, the drummers and everything.
Yeah.
And then when we looked around, the dad was behind me holding his phone, videoing.
Oh, jeez.
And once again, that's what I'm trying to say about social media. It's beautiful, connected us together.
Yeah.
It's teaching us a lot. It's bringing you knowledge that you might have not known otherwise without social media.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's also taken away so much from our lives.
I can't agree more. Some very good points there. I love it. Going back to overseas, once this whole COVID period is over, do you have some places, I know you've traveled a little bit, do you have some places you'd love to go back to or see that you haven't seen?
COVID actually took away 2 trips.
Yeah, oh, really?
Yes. So in last April, we were supposed to go to Istanbul.
All right.
Again, I lived in Istanbul for a while.
Okay.
I feel like
before you came to Australia?
Yes. I feel like this is one of my favorite cities around the world.
Okay.
I'd go back there anytime. We were there last year and We were supposed to go in April, all booked and everything. And unfortunately, due to COVID, that trip was canceled. Okay. And then we were supposed to go to Europe again in August. Yes, this month actually. Yeah. And that also didn't happen. Jeez. Yeah, so can't wait for COVID to finish and
get those trips back.
Catch up with my schedule.
Very good. Now, going back to photography, I'm actually really interested in, knowing how you got into photography, because I read that, you started, really taking it seriously and getting into your business in 2010. Is that correct? Around 2010?
Roughly, yeah, that is correct. So I've been taking photos around, family and friends all my life. I remember me being a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid with a super cheap camera, being over the moon, happy with it, taking family photos and friends and everything. Nice. And there are actually, there's a friend here in Sydney. I remember when I was maybe 11, he used to work at a photo lab. And he used to be the one developing my photos. I used to be a little kid. I used to sneak out of school just so I can go to his photo lab and give him the negatives. And I see him now a lot. He's a family friend as well. And it kind of brings back so much memories that I never knew that I was going to take photography professionally. I was a child, a child with a cheap camera and just taking photos for family and friends. Yep. And then as the technology is developing, digital cameras came along and I started following up with the cameras and everything. And I happened to start working in the technology retail business. We used to work for a company that sells, computer parts, laptops, and things like that.
Okay.
That's basically what kind of helped me get into the photography professionally, because when I moved to Australia, that's when the digital photography was becoming the main format.
And when was that? Sorry, that
was around 2009.
Okay.
Because 2008 actually, Nikon actually released the D3 camera, and the D3 was actually the first camera that was actually comparable to a film camera in quality.
Right.
So that was around 2008, and then 2009, 2010, things started, improving little by little. So that's when the digital photography started becoming the new main format. Hmm. And because I have knowledge in technology, that was the era when the editing, Photoshop, color correction, and all these things started to come along.
Yes.
To get the regular clients, not your high-end clients, access to color correction, access to fully graphically designed wedding album, and all these things. Because before that, a wedding album was basically print out small photos and slip them into the album. That's what it was. Yes. But I was fortunate enough to have knowledge in technology and softwares like Photoshop and other things. Yes. And also have knowledge in photography. Merge the two together, help me have a higher chance of success compared to other photographers who've been there for 10, 15 years, being film photographers, right. And now they just don't know how to move forward because they didn't follow up with digital cameras and they didn't follow up with computers because film photographers never thought they would use computers for photos.
Yes. Well, it's a really interesting time that you got into it because Instagram actually came out in 2010.
Yes.
And Instagram was almost, I remember hearing things like it's going to be the death of photography, because of Instagram had all the filters, it had technology that we'd never seen before.
To a certain way it is.
Yeah. So that's why I'm interested to see, you got into photography like seriously in that time, and did you have concerns about Instagram, or I mean, I suppose you saw it as an opportunity in some ways, because a lot of photographers I think were thinking, you know what, maybe this is not the right career for me since this app came out.
Yes, I did take it as an opportunity, so it didn't really worry me much.
Okay.
And don't forget, I was 20 something years old, right? So when a new website comes along or a new app comes along, you get excited for it, right? It's not like you're 45, 50 years old and a new app comes up and you're like, how do you use that?
Yeah.
I'm still young. I can catch up to these things. So when Instagram, Facebook came along, that did help me showcase the work we do on a wider range.
Okay.
So I was able to, even if it's helping a photographer, I was able to help that photographer have their photos color corrected, have graphic designs to them, show them how they can use social media to show their work. And we actually ended up targeting clients without social media. They would have never heard of us.
Oh, right.
And yeah, and just around, I think 2012, 2013, that's when we become a little bit more, let's call it nationally known.
Okay.
That's when people from all around the country start calling you for bookings. And this is how you know, if it wasn't for social media, which I know has downsides,
yeah,
but if it wasn't for it, those people might have never heard of us.
Brilliant. Yeah, so you turned it into an opportunity. I love it. Did you have setbacks or any failures or challenges in the first few years or first little while?
I did have many setbacks actually in terms of business, and I had another setback that was actually about photography itself, because so I'm an IT graduate, but I did try to actually study photography. I wasn't accepted actually.
Photography.
Yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, that was I think prior to 2010. I did actually apply for photography, and then you submit your portfolios and everything, and then I got a letter that I was not accepted.
Wow.
It was very downing. But then I moved on. I studied IT, which was also another thing that it's a field that I have experience in, and I loved it.
Okay.
So I studied IT. The funny thing is, years and years later, which was maybe last year and the year before, our business ended up having apprentices coming from that particular course.
That rejected you.
Working for us. And that was kind of a proud moment.
Of course.
Yeah, so it worked out okay. I guess it's your destiny.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, other problems we had were in 2012, like I said, when social media actually helped us to get a lot more customers from all around the city. The other problem that we had was, so I have experience in information technology. I'm starting to build my experience in photography.
Yep.
But I'm not a businessman, so I don't have experience in business, right? So when a customer comes in, we're happy, we book, but we didn't know how to make plan for the future. And then 1 year later, when those clients that booked a year ago, 1 year later, when those clients are now getting married, it became an overload that was not expected.
Okay. Yeah.
And at that moment, we already built our experience and we already made our workflow. And, you know, this is the way you work. When a client comes in, they book you because this is your workflow. This is the way you work. And now you need new, fresh hands, right? Yeah. To work with you, to help you. Now, when you bring someone new, I'm not a businessman. I don't know how to train them. They work for a while, work is not the best, bring someone else, repeat.
Oh, right.
And that was actually a big mistake. And it took me a while until I realized, yeah, fair enough. We're taking beautiful photos.
Yeah.
We're making very nice albums. But doesn't mean we're the best. It means we still need help, and it's okay to ask for help. And that was I think around 2014 when we actually realized our mistakes, and we were like, you know what, it's okay to ask for help. So we started approaching people that have experience in the industry, people that have experience in business management, asking them what is the best way to build a new workflow for our business, save time on management, keep our promises for our clients. And we learned a lot, not necessarily to become business managers, but we learned a lot that when we need something, it's okay to ask a professional.
Okay. Yeah.
And since that day, every time we have a problem, I would rather now find a professional who can assist us rather than, you know, just sit there and pretend I'm the boss and I can do it. And by all means, I don't want to be the boss. I just want to get it done in the right way.
That's really interesting. You made a great transition there, because it's probably one of the most common failures of people who have great talent and, you know, have a great business idea, but lack having business structure and a system, you know, to follow through. And one of the, you know, you could be the best at what you do, but if you do not deliver, you know, on time and keep
100%.
People drop you like that, you know. So
100%.
Fantastic that you made that. You learned the lessons, but also made the transition. And key thing is what you said is you ask for help, because that can be one of the biggest things that deters people from success, is actually asking for help.
Asking for help is really, really important. And the other thing is understanding that, you know, you can't be everything.
Yes.
You can't be everything for your business. That is something very important. If you get it through your head, you know how to grow, because no one really is able to grow in all areas of a business by themselves. That's why there are, you know, different people with different professions. There is someone who knows how to do your employees management, human resources, someone who knows how to do your, you know, accounting and all that, someone who can help you with your contracting and all these things.
Yes.
And that's how you actually move forward, because you're not going to do all these things by yourself.
Correct. Very good. So, I mean, I want to talk quickly about IT. So you had a passion in IT. You studied in that. What made you go, you know what, I just want to do photography? Was it someone told you that you're no good?
Not exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so I did study IT, graduated in 2010, and I got my first job right after I graduated. But 2010 was also my year where I entered the photography business.
Okay.
The thing was basically photography, especially weddings, was more like a Friday, Saturday kind of thing. And if we have any other session, we might do it on a Sunday. A lot of times you do like different portrait sessions during the week. And then when I started doing my IT job, you know, it's a 5 days a week, 9 to 5. The job was at the city, so basically by the time you get home, it's already dark. Then they asked me to do Saturday. So I was at a point where I have to now choose. If I do my IT job with the Saturday, that means I have to drop photography.
Right.
And if I want to continue with photography, I have to drop that job with IT. The reason why I continued with photography is because I felt like, especially the community that I was in, everybody around me. I felt like there was so much missing. The industry can offer more. This particular job title can offer the community a lot more. But a lot of, fellow photographers around us were unable to deliver.
Right.
And me, as a, young and passionate myself, I was like, I can do that. I can start showing different kind of work.
Okay.
I'm talking about time where you said Instagram came up in 2010. Yeah. Talking about time where if you post a photo that just has color correction on it, was like, wow, like this photo is unreal. You get me? So it was something very simple back then.
Yeah.
But because people haven't seen it, everybody was just getting the photo straight out of the camera. So when they see a photo with like, vivid colors, nice contrast and everything, they go like, there is something here. We don't know what it is, but there is something this guy is doing. And it started picking up really quickly. It started picking up really quickly. A lot of photographers that, I used to help, I was an assistant for them when I started. Shortly after, they become my assistant, and I do appreciate their hard work, and I do appreciate the chances that they gave me.
Yep.
But that's how the business goes. I mean, you can't just sit there and watch life moving forward, because by all means, it's going to move forward. You're going to stay there.
Yeah.
Right. So if technology is moving forward, you need to move with it.
Makes sense. I want to ask you also about portraits as well as weddings, right? So I read, I think it was on your website, it's not just about photography, it's about telling a story.
Yes, that's
right?
for weddings.
That's for weddings, is it? Okay.
Yes.
So you don't, because I know when people, I remember reading about the famous artist who painted Winston Churchill's portrait, sorry. He spent a lot of time getting to know Winston on a deeper level, not just who he was as a prime minister.
Yes.
I suppose, is there any of that, can you relate any of that to what you do when it's taking portraits or obviously in weddings, you're obviously trying to tell a story more than just capture a great angle?
With weddings, of course, it's slightly different than, it's actually not just slightly, it's entirely different than a portrait session.
Yep.
Because a portrait session, you might wrap it with sometimes one single photo, sometimes a collection of 5-6 photos from the entire, portrait session.
Okay.
But from a wedding, you're shooting maybe 500, 600, 1,000 photos. So when you put it in a book, that book is going to tell a story.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the way we shoot a wedding, we make sure that there is 2 things in that book. We make sure that we are showcasing the wedding, and we are also showing the story. So by showcasing, I mean, a lot of times now, it's very, very important for the bride and groom to have documented, the way they dressed, the jewelry, the way they set up the tables for the guests, if they have anything in particular. It's very important for them to show the way they set up their florals. So this is basically showcasing how the wedding was, and then also documenting all these emotions. So we have some albums, display albums, when a client come in and we show them few of these pages, and they always stop at specific pages. And these pages, you'd be surprised, these pages would be during the speeches. I know a lot of our community don't actually do speeches.
Yeah.
But when they do speeches, we do like 2 or 3 pages of the speeches. And the speeches, basically, you get a couple of portraits. Of course, these portraits are candid. You get a couple of portraits of the speaker, and you get more photos of people just, turning their chairs around and just listening to that person, showing that expression. When you put them together, you flick through that page and you feel all of a sudden you are a part of that particular moment. Maybe you can't hear what the speaker is saying, but you can definitely feel the mood.
Yes.
Moments like when, you know, when the bride is taking a photo with her mom for the first time in the morning, when the mom just saw her daughter in her dress. I love it when people cry in photos.
Yeah.
I have my tricks to make people cry.
Really?
I'm not joking. Like sometimes when a mom or a dad comes in the room and they don't cry, I have my tricks. I'll make them cry without knowing. But I love it because, like, when you just keep everything quiet and they just keep them together, appreciate that moment, father daughter. It's amazing. This is something that's, you know, it's history. So the way I feel wedding photography is, it's basically making history. So we're documenting that history. We never sell an album for a client because it's for them.
Yes.
I don't care about them if they got an album or not. This album is for their kids, for their grandkids. Because when you see the album a month after the wedding, trust me, you're not going to feel so much emotion to it. But then you come 2 years later, 3 years later, you come when your kid is 10 years old, and you open up that album, it's priceless, right?
Go on for their kids and
Thank you very much. I mean, imagine if your grandparents had a beautiful wedding album that you can open up now and just flick through the photos, and hopefully it would be the kind of photography that we shoot now, where a lot of the photos are candid and they show you, you know, feelings and expressions and all that.
That's such a good point, because it's something that I wish for, you know, to see the candid moments of my grandparents. I have, you know, you're probably similar to me. I have maybe a handful of photos of them.
Exactly.
God bless them. My majority of my grandparents have passed on, but there's only a very small amount of photos with them, and I don't think I have a photo of even my grandparents getting married. You know, so it just goes to show the power of it, of what you were just saying there, in generations to come, how significant those photos will be.
So we strongly believe
Brilliant.
Creating that story is actually something really, really important.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the younger generation now is not actually printing out albums. They're just happy with photos on social media, la, la, la.
Yeah.
We encourage them to purchase an album, not because we want to make a sale, because that's also our pride moment. As photographers, when we end up printing out the album and it's all ready and you bring it, put it on the table, open it up, you actually feel like you've achieved your goal by going to that wedding. All your hard work is now really documented in the way you want. And documenting that, once again, like I said before, documenting that, those moments between a father and a daughter, those moments between a mother and her son, when the bride is walking down the aisle, a lot of them, you know, get emotional. A lot of grooms, they actually cry, and that's a moment you don't want to miss, right? Especially if you capture it in a particular way where you're making that story. Yes. I have one of the photos that is actually an award-winning photo. It's the bride and groom walking down the aisle, and the groom was crying. He was wiping his tears out. But the photo was not taken, although the groom was wiping his tears out, the photo was taken for the father of the bride who just handed his daughter away to this person. Yeah. And he was standing at the back just looking at them, and his facial expression was priceless, right? So yes, you do get the bride and groom blurry, but you can tell that the groom is wiping away his tears, and the mother of the groom had her hand just touching the, it was, I know it's a blurry, but then when you look at it and the focus is on the father of the bride at the back, that's a strong story. And strong story brings an award.
Brilliant. And So tell me, we'll get a copy of some of these photos and we'll play them throughout the video.
Easy.
Now, so with just digress a little bit with COVID, you know, with all this, has that impacted your business in some ways, many ways, or how has it? Obviously, it has impacted your business, but how?
I don't know where to start. Sometimes, you know, us photographers, videographers, and people that, you know, work in the wedding industry, in particular, reception venues as well.
Yep.
We believe that we might be the businesses affected the most by COVID.
Right.
Because by all means, since April or since late March, we have not done any business. We've done like 3-4 weddings, and these weddings are usually hourly. So we do like 6 hours here, 7 hours here. We're talking about businesses that used to do, you know, 15, 16 events a month.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a span of 6-7 months now.
You've done a handful.
We've done a handful,
wow.
Right? Yeah. So it has impacted us a lot. But again, we're looking forward for all the weddings that would come up. Now, this actually might not necessarily be bad, because again, I'm a big supporter of considering smaller weddings, right? And I'm not talking about COVID. I'm talking about general life scenario, right? So I'm a big supporter of smaller weddings. I don't believe someone with a 600, 700, 1,000 guest wedding is an efficient or an intimate way to have the most important day of your life.
I had 6 people in my wedding.
Excellent.
It was quite a small wedding, and that included myself and my wife.
Excellent.
But that was a quick story. We got married in Italy, so we took our parents with us, and it was probably one of the best decisions I think I've made collectively with my wife that we've made, because it was priceless. And
beautiful. To be completely honest,
yeah,
this is fantastic.
We had the engagement party with all the, you know, monkeys. We had the old, you know, and all that happened. We did that part, and then we went to Italy and got married, and it was just wonderful around the Vatican, and it was priceless. And going back to your point about, you know, wedding albums and all that stuff, one of my favorite pieces of material in our house is our wedding photo, and also the photos that I have of our son being born in his first 2 weeks. Like, there's nothing more. There could be inexpensive and expensive things in our house, but those for me are the most prized possessions that we have in our house. So you're 100% right. Sorry, I got.
No, that's beautiful. I love hearing stories like this, because that actually makes me believe that not just photography, but generally documenting your life is actually part of you creating history for your children or the next generation. And that's actually a very, very important point if you use it wisely.
Yes.
Not just because you have a mobile phone with a camera means you have to, you know, just go wild and fill up Snapchat and Instagram and all social platforms with pointless photos. So there's a purpose.
Yeah, less is more.
Less is more, exactly.
So yeah, to your point, you were saying that it may turn out to be, as much as you've lost a lot of
it may turn out to be a good point. The reason why is because a lot of people now have rescheduled their weddings, but with the rescheduling of the wedding, they decided to bring the number smaller. And now also a lot of people are considering different days of the week to get married. So not necessarily Saturdays, because back in the days, everybody wanted a Saturday. And now people are considering Sundays, Fridays, even Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Really?
Yes. I'm also a believer that a wedding doesn't have to be on a weekend.
Okay.
So hopefully these things will, will change the standards a
Mm.
little bit more. And if they do, then I guess weddings will probably end up being uh, more cost efficient.
Not a bad thing.
Because, yeah, will be more cost efficient because, again, you're talking about a wedding venue, for example, that relies on 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Right? You're talking about a florist or anyone else or car hire that relies on 3 days a week.
Mm.
But if they rely on full week, then they can bring the prices down. So if everybody decides to, get married on any day and your guests will still, come in, then the cost of the wedding will be reduced.
Mm.
And hopefully everybody will finish their weddings by 12 o'clock and that'll be awesome. Except they don't want to do that.
Not in our culture, no. Not in
No. Yeah.
And the weddings would be. I mean, I'm hugely in favor of that because they'll be more intimate, won't they? It'll be a select people that you'd. Sorry, this is something else, but it'll be select people that you really want to have there. I'll say it. That you definitely want to have at your wedding.
Can't agree more.
And there'll be more the intimate, people in your life, which
there will be more people that actually care about you.
correct.
More people that don't want to waste a moment holding their phone.
Yeah.
Instead of dancing for you, being happy for you.
Mm.
That actually matters. That actually makes the wedding much more exciting.
Have you ever been to a wedding where the bride and groom banned phones?
Yes.
It has happened? Okay, great.
Great idea.
That must
Amazing.
be a happy day for you.
Look, it doesn't bother me. By all means, it doesn't bother me. It's not like when they hold their phones, they come in my way or something.
More like they're missing out. Yes.
It's more that they're missing out.
Yeah.
It's more like I feel bad. Like, why are you at the wedding?
Yeah.
Go home. Yeah. So that's what it is.
Hey, I want to talk about. You said that it was a great turnaround, it was a great moment in your career when you started getting apprentices from, the academy or the organization that, turned your photos down originally. So that was a big win for you. But can you tell us a little bit more about that? So you've got initiation programs now for young kids, aspiring photographers, yes?
Not at this moment, but we're working on that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not at this moment, but we're working on that. So as a business, we usually have our doors open for anyone who wants to, come to get some experience.
Okay.
We usually have our doors open for anyone who wants to learn, join us behind the scenes. And if they have any questions on the day, we're happy to answer them. They can come on a portrait session. They can come on a casual session. If we have a fashion shoot, or by all means, even if we have a wedding, they're welcome to come in and assist us. So that obviously is an option. And so far, we've had a large number of people that came for a few months, got their experience, and then they moved on with their lives. They either started their own business or they ended up working for other companies. So we've had a few people that we helped along the years, and it worked out pretty well. But moving forward, we're actually planning to do some sort of an educational program for the younger generations. A lot of people now, they're interested in photography and they're making use of all the social media platforms. But there's a lack of understanding of the foundation of visual arts or videography or photography or all these things. Now we're at a point where you don't really need to buy a camera. I guess phones these days are amazing.
Okay.
I know fellow videographers, they actually shoot video clips with their mobile phones. like professional video clips.
Oh, right.
Last month we were shooting a session for a bride and groom, and the videographer came in with his iPhone and he shot the session with an iPhone.
Wow.
Yeah, so the younger generations, they seek the latest and the greatest of the mobile phones. So we're trying to start an educational program that can help those people that are interested in photography to understand the foundation of photography, even if they don't have a camera.
Right. Okay.
Right? Because taking a great photo is not about your equipment. And I might be known in the industry that I use the tiniest cameras out there.
Okay.
And a lot of people actually, like fellow photographers or people that see me at a job, many times, they actually notice that, and some of them make fun of it, and some of them recall that incident. I had someone coming to book the other day, and they were like, "Yeah, we saw you 2 years ago with your tiny camera taking photos." I'm like, "Yeah, well, it does the job, right?"
Okay.
So I'm a big believer that if you're interested in photography, if you're interested in any kind of art, it's very important to start from the foundation. And there is a lot that you can learn online, but one-to-one is really important. The reason why is because you can always get to ask the question that pops in your mind straight away and get the answer for it. Online is a huge educational platform.
Yes.
But unfortunately, sometimes when you're listening and you get a particular question in your head, unfortunately, that's going to just vanish.
Yeah.
One-on-one is usually the best. So that might be a non-profit first, and we're trying to work with a few organizations to help us out to arrange that. Church is actually one of the options.
Okay.
Our church is actually one of the options. So it will be a couple of lectures, and then, like I said, one-on-one with everyone. So just to help them out.
Yeah, I can see the benefit of the one-on-one because, I've looked at things online, learned things on online programs, but when you actually sit down with someone who's an expert, who's got years of experience, I don't think there's an algorithm that matches that.
100%.
Yeah, and like you say, just having that, it's like having a mentor. That can be priceless in an industry that you want to grow in.
Exactly.
I want to talk about you for a little bit. So, what would you say your, I suppose, habits or rituals are that help you be successful at what you do?
My wife hates all of them.
Really? Interesting.
Yes.
Are you like, what do you mean? Is it like Rafael Nadal who does this every time before you take a photo?
So I'm actually a very, very technical person, right? If we're now talking through Zoom, I need to know how Zoom works and what's the encryption that they use and how they connected the two, and why is your image more blurry than mine and all that, right?
Okay.
Just saying, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the things that actually, I know it's annoying for a lot of people because I question a lot. But that's actually one of the things that allowed me to gather more information about every field that I step in, because I keep asking and asking and asking. Okay. Even one of the mentor photographers that I've worked closely with before, second day, and he already, told me, he's like, "You ask too much." You get me? So that's actually something that helped me out a lot. I like to, to analyze everything and make sure that I understand how it works. Number two, I guess, so I'm not really a book reader.
Okay.
But I'm a listener.
Okay.
So I go through a lot of, educational podcasts, of course, in my field and other fields as well. I think podcasts are amazing. Works for me. Doesn't have to work for everyone, but works for me. And educational, if it's in my field or any other field, that helped me out a lot.
Okay. So just digging really deep into everything.
Yes.
And using this more.
Using this, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Well, I want to ask you about your wife then, since you mentioned her. Have you ever, maybe not her, but even other members of your family, do you use them as guinea pigs in a sense? Like, do you, and before you answer, do you have to bribe them to use them in, in particular shots?
Family members, not really.
No?
Wife,
Be spared, or yes?
I guess yes, but the photos are for her at the end of the day.
Okay.
So I have to kind of, you know, sneak my way around so I can take her photo, which
I don't think many will complain about that.
Which, 2 months later she will appreciate it, but right at that moment she doesn't want to take it. So
okay,
I have to kind of please her in the future, but also kind of make my way through it this way, you know. I don't actually. The reason why it's because in the last 10 years, I feel that it has been an overload with photography. I don't go around. Yeah, I don't go around on a picnic or on the beach or something and take a camera with me.
Okay.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
If I'm going out just with my phone. A lot of times when we were, traveling, camera is in the bag, but we rarely take it out, right? Yeah. The reason why is because, again, we're shooting maybe millions of photos every year. It's not always nice to see everything through the lens. You sometimes need to just see it through your eyes. You get me? So
100%.
Yeah.
That's good. I think you balanced your life really well with your work. Just from
I try.
Observer.
I try. Sometimes it's good when you go to a new job. It's good that you missed grabbing the camera and taking photos.
Yeah, gotcha. Makes sense. Tell me, do you have a particular goal for the industry right now? Like, what would you like to see happen more in your industry?
A lot of things, actually. A lot of things. I think this industry need to grow educationally and artistically as well.
What do you mean?
When business comes along and anything that's valuable, and then the money issue comes in, people start replicating the same product at a cheaper rate.
Right.
Yes. It's like when you buy a real iPhone, or you go buy a Chinese iPhone. So I think we're coming through this state, or we've been in this stage for a few years now, where style is not important for everyone. And the things that we were just talking about for the albums and the moments and capturing emotion and capturing expressions and making a story in a book. I don't want to say it's not important for everyone. I'd like to say not everyone knows that these things are important. Some people think a photographer will do his job. We'll take photos, bang, 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 that's it.
Yes.
And I feel bad for those people, because then you're only going to realize it in the future. I feel like our industry right now is lacking education, is lacking education of art, is lacking understanding of why is this a good picture and this isn't. Of course, I'm not expecting everyone to be a judge, right? We do send our photos to competitions, and there's a judge sitting there, and they would give you a score.
Yeah.
But that judge spent all his life judging art, so I'm not expecting every client to do the same, right?
Yes.
I think the reason why clients are not understanding the difference between a good image and a bad image is, I think, the same point we were talking about in the beginning when I said it's an overload of exposure. You open Instagram and a ton of photos is coming through your way.
Well, yeah.
Right? And a lot of times, photos that are getting, 50,000, 100,000 likes, 500,000 likes, they're actually mobile photos.
Of course.
I mean, like I said, I repeat, these days mobile phones are amazing, and you can take beautiful photos with them if you know how to use it.
Yes.
But some of these photos are ordinary photos.
Yeah.
But not every client knows the difference between a good photo and a bad photo. Photo might be selling, not because of the photo itself. It might be selling because of the content, and that's not exactly wrong, right? Might not be exactly wrong. But our clients, when they go and book and find a photographer and all that, that's not because of the content. That's because of the photo.
Yes.
You will give the photo a like on Instagram because of the content and the photo is bad, but you're not going to go book a photographer for the content of his album. You're going to book him for the quality of the images in the album.
Yes, 100%.
That's why I believe people need to actually make it harder for the industry of photography so other photographers can educate themselves. I feel like at this point, a lot of people are making it easier for everyone. And a lot of other photographers are not really getting the education because they think like people don't really care. But it's this way we're not moving forward, right? This way we're not moving forward. I don't need someone to tell me if I'm doing right or wrong for me to improve myself. I just need to know so I can improve myself for my own pride.
Yes, yes.
And that's what's missing. The other thing, I think, in our community, that lack is slightly more exaggerated. And not only in weddings, I think also in portraits, in posters, in graphic designs, any other kind of art, really. Technology is making everything easier. In a way, I believe technology is kind of interfering with the quality of the art.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed in the past 10 years, everybody's, in terms of photography, grabbing a camera thinking they are a photographer.
Yes.
In terms of music, everybody is buying a music software, putting it on the computer, and then they think they music producer. Yeah. Everybody's buying a camera and they think all of a sudden they a video producer. So in a way, I feel like technology is interfering with the quality of art generally.
I agree.
Right?
People want the results quickly. You know, they don't, in my opinion, they don't want to do the hard yards. They don't want to put in the actual work to produce a beautiful quality product. They want to put something out, whether it be photography, music, art, and they judge their success by the amount of likes they get.
And that's exactly where the issue lies. The problem is you're you're judging it by the amount of attention you're getting on social media, but that attention is not coming from a legitimate judge. I mean, by all means, it could be someone who doesn't even know good and bad.
Yeah, most of the time.
So that's one downside of technology again. Yeah. So the reason why I'm saying we need to get educated, I think it's important to, no matter what level of production you're doing, if you're at a high-end production or a low-end production, I feel like it's really important to keep a good connection with your peers, because this way you will understand how much more work you need to do. So there is a standard accepted level in the industry. Because then if there is no connection, and if I don't talk to other photographers and other photographers don't talk to other photographers, and we don't show our work to each other, then how are we going to know what level we need to be at?
Yeah.
That's where forums, competitions, and other places, come in place, because that's how a legitimate judge will actually tell you if your work is great, good, or not good. And they will offer you options that you will do and progress.
So your advice to someone who wants to be, maybe a young person who wants to get into photography, and if I may, is to slow down, firstly, learn the basics, the fundamentals, the foundations first, learn the art of it, and definitely speak to, get some sort of mentorship. Is that a fair summary?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Slow down, observe, learn the foundation.
Yeah.
Speak to a mentor.
Yeah.
This way you will do 10 years worth of work in 6 months. No, 1 year.
I mean, that seems to be, and one of the reasons I love having this podcast is being able to talk to people from different industries. But it seems to be the common denominator with everyone I speak to from different industries is they're telling everyone to slow down and really, understand the fundamentals of what you do. I for example, I'm not in it now, but I have an engineering background, and one thing I learned with structural engineering, for example, is the majority of time is spent on a building, on a skyscraper, on the foundations. You could be driving past a building site for months on end, and all you see is a hole in the ground, and you think nothing's happening, and that just keeps going on, and all of a sudden, within 2, 3, 4 weeks, bang, a skyscraper's up, and you're like,
correct,
where did that come from? Because the time was spent on the foundations, and from there you can actually build amazing things in life. And I think that applies to life or any skill.
That does apply in many, many different areas of life. In my personal experience, I did actually witness this. I wish I was told this when I was younger, but again, I still do it again and again. Every time I start something new, slow down, observe it, understand what it is, know where you want to head to, and speak to someone who knows, because you have to.
100%. So how does Sam Sitto relax outside of what you do? What's your...
See, I love music. My music is boring. My music taste is boring. But yeah, I love music.
Your wife agree with this?
Sorry?
Your wife agree with that?
My wife is the one who told me. Yeah. So I actually enjoy music. I enjoy instrumental. I enjoy listening to something that is nice and relaxing. This is my way, because I get exposed to a lot of media. So for me to surf on platforms like Instagram and Facebook is an overkill, because because I've seen a lot. You get me? I
Yeah.
see this day in, day out.
Yes.
So I kind of try to stay away from that. My feed on my social platforms, I hope no one really gets offended by this, but a lot of people are muted. A lot of people are muted, even people in the industry, and I hope everybody understands this.
Yeah.
But like when I'm at a job, yes, fair enough. We see this. And the next day we have another job and we see this. And then when you go home, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't worry. I have the same.
I mean, sometimes I'm even surprised people that have nothing to do with the wedding industry, they open up their feed and it's full of wedding photos.
Mm.
I don't understand why.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. Basically, yeah, just music. I love my me time, just sitting by myself, doing nothing for half an hour, 1 hour. That actually gives me so much more energy. I feel like I'm recharged if I sit by myself for half an hour or 1 hour, um, even if it's every second, third day.
Yeah.
Uh, I get so much more energy.
Awesome. Well, I mean, for me, again, from an observer, you're someone who's doing what I think God's put in your heart, because it's so tempting, especially from our culture, to go with the normal, which is engineering, IT, all these other things that are, I suppose, impressed upon us. But even when you were told that, hey, I don't think this is right for you, you didn't let that deter you, and you followed what was in your heart. So I think that's something to really, I suppose, be proud of, and I always appreciate talking to people who are actually following their passion.
It was a risk when it started, but um, like I said, it was the young version of me, and the young version of me decided to take the risk, and
Good.
here I am today. I'm not regretting it. I appreciate every moment that I saw a bride with her dad and love, a bride with her mom crying,
Yeah.
mom with her son feeling so much love. I appreciate every one of these moments that I came across in my life.
Great.
And for the good and bad in this job, I'm blessed.
Yeah. No, you've done great, sir. Well, we're going to wrap it up. I just firstly want to wish you all the best with the transition, post COVID. So, I think just from listening to you, your attitude and your approach, I have zero doubt that you'll grow. You'll, I suppose, morph into a different version of what you do, and have great success. I have no doubt about that. And wish
Thank
you.
you very much. Thank you very
Um,
much.
there's one last question that I ask, and I like to ask all our guests this. If you could go back in time and speak to your 18-year-old self of you, that version of you.
Damn.
Yeah, exactly. What would you say to that person? If you go back? What advice would you have for him?
I'd say move on. You're not a rock.
Move on. What do you mean?
Yes. See, I said during the conversation that I'm not a business person, right? And because I don't have strong knowledge in managing business, I get attached to things. So a lot of times since I was 18, I start something, and even if it was photography actually itself, if I start the business in a particular way and I find that really not the best way,
Yeah.
I get attached to this whole structure, and I don't let go and change.
Yes.
You get me? So I had a lot of problems that I wish I've let go of it and moved on.
Yeah.
I wish, let's say, if I started in a particular way of business management, and that was not the best.
Yeah.
I wish I told myself, it's okay, you're wrong. Just move on and do the next thing.
Yes.
But a lot of times I, got attached to so many things in life, and each one of these things dragged a year or two
Longer.
and longer. Yeah. So again, move on.
That's great advice. I can relate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we'll leave it there. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you, sir. It was really insightful, and I learned a lot from our conversation. So do appreciate you having on. I'm sure the listeners will as well.
Thank you, Isaac. It has been actually very, very interesting. Love the conversation.
Yeah, and look, again, we wish you well. Stay safe, and much success for the years ahead.
Thank you. You stay safe too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.